So let's get our story straight.
Wait, I'm high. Wait.
I'm high.
No, wait. My friends are in the bathroom getting higher than the Empire State.
What the fuck is that from?
It's from We Are Young. Let me get my story straight.
I fucking completely forgot. Hello, and welcome to Fools in Fiction. This time, the fiction came up from a really weird place. So, as you know, we were...
Well, it didn't come up from a weird place. It came up from a normal place. We're in the weird place.
Well, okay, that's true. So, we were on our way to Nevada. Is it Nevada or Nevada?
I say Nevada. I know some people say Nevada.
I know one of them is, like, strictly right, like, that people native to there get really upset.
One of them is strictly right.
Well, no, like, people native to that state are like, this is how you say it.
I think it's probably Nevada.
Okay. Pardon me. So...
Anyway, we're on our way there.
Yeah, and so we get a message from the Skiphites that they are going to be watching something called Velocipastor. And in their solidarity with us, and thinking that we shouldn't be exiled, they were going to live stream it so we could watch too. So we stopped in Colorado to watch Velocipastor.
Yes, this was this last Monday.
Yes. Where we are right now is a mystery. But...
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you about to be like, no, we told them where we are? And I'm like, no, that's where we were.
I was going to make a joke about light cones.
And what are light cones?
Light cones are the things that determine the absolute ordering of events in time. So, like, the only thing, if they know that we were in Colorado last Monday, then that means where we are now is somewhere within the light cone of Colorado last Monday.
Oh,
which is
interesting.
It's a thing in special relativity.
Oh, that's
where you
cool.
can figure out because it was definitely in our past, so therefore we're inside.
Of where like light could go.
Yeah. That's the way of thinking about it.
Okay,
because we can't go faster than light, therefore we're slower distance away than light is.
Yeah,
or less distance away than light would travel in the same amount of time.
Wouldn't it be a light sphere then?
It's a hypersphere. Because the cone is that in the fact that it expands over time as the light pulse goes out.
Oh.
So it's like a cone in 4 dimensions.
Interesting.
So when you project it onto like a space-time diagram, it looks like a X, or like a space-time diagram with a plane as your two spatial axes. It looks like a cone.
Interesting.
It's like a 3-cone. But anyway, I don't think that tells you where we are. Hopefully you all can figure out where we were from there.
No, to go back to Velocipastor. No, that is fascinating. I don't want to seem like it's not. So our knowledge going into it was that it was like a bad movie.
I don't think that was what we knew, right?
Well, we were told it was like Sharknado.
Yeah, but Ailish said that she liked it. She said the
well, yeah, I mean like bad movie as in like the genre.
Oh yeah.
Which like there's so many different things that I could have expected. I was like, maybe it's going to be like The Room, or is Rocky Horror bad?
Yeah, Rocky Horror is a bad movie. Because it's supposed to be. It's like in the same genre.
Yeah, that's fair. So, it like, I expected something like that, and it fucking delivered. It was so crazy to watch.
It was like Swiss Army Man, but a bad movie.
Yeah, like it was...
It had soul in it.
Like Swiss Army Man was produced with like a budget and had like big name people on it.
Yeah.
This was like if Swiss Army Man was on a budget of like $5 duct taped together.
But like similar like direction.
Yeah.
So here's the plot according to Brendan Steer on IMDb. After losing his parents, a priest travels to China where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. At first horrified by this new power, a hooker convinces him to use it to fight crime and ninjas.
It's a hooker lawyer doctor.
Yes, that's very important. She's a hooker lawyer doctor.
Also, the most important thing about Velocipastor is that it tells us that China is in the east.
He's standing in the woods, and it just says China on like the big title that comes across the screen, and he like looks up from like his hand where he's doing some sort of right hand rule or something. He goes, China is east, and then he gets attacked by ninjas.
It was so goddamn weird. it they do that joke again later in the movie where the hooker has been attacked, or the hooker lawyer doctor, excuse me. And she has been attacked and she's in the hospital and she like whispers into the pastor like, I'm okay. And then in huge like Pulp Fiction font, it's like, she's okay. And holy shit, that movie is incredible. The Velociraptor costume is as bad as you hope it is. Like, I think I made the comment that they had, like, the costumes in Jurassic Park looked better. And I think Cody said it, like, was only one step above the inflatable dinosaur costume.
Yeah, and you don't really get to see a good view of it until, like, the very end at the final battle. Where he yells, and then it zooms out, and you can see he's just in this, like, very inflatable looking kind of costume.
It looks like it was made out of paper mache.
It's like this kind of brown color. It's pretty small.
It's not good.
There's blood everywhere.
Oh my god, there's blood everywhere. It's... So, there's not much plot to the movie, interestingly enough.
Like, reading the description, it sounds like he's gonna, like, spend some time in China. He's there for, like, a quick scene.
Yeah.
And then he drives to China, by the way.
I forgot that. So the opening credits is him in a car, and then it immediately cuts to him in China.
And China is very clearly, like, the United States.
Yeah, it is 100% a forest, like, in Kentucky.
Because, like, so much of this movie takes place in the same seemingly the same forest, even though it's, like, vastly different geographies in the world. Which reminds me a lot of World of Dentists, which takes place almost
I think I brought that up immediately, where I'm like, this isn't China, this is World of Dentists.
Yeah, it's that same kind of genre of people, like, holding shaky cameras in the forest, making a movie.
It's kind of like Blair Witch too.
Yeah, I was just thinking that
because that movie did not have a good budget either. And that has become like a very classic horror movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that this fits into besides just like contemporary meme culture, which I think is the most obvious one. And the most obvious instance of that is when the Velocipastor's parents tragically die at the beginning. He's screaming and it pans over to the car and it's just like text floating in the air that says like VFX car on fire.
That alone, the audacity of just putting that in that movie almost killed me.
But I think it fits into a lot of other things too, like something that Chris had texted us to inspire us to talk about is the or how creating something with limitations can lead to very creative results, which I think is just like a fairly well-known truth, but this is a really great example of that.
And we were talking a bit about like other examples of it, so like of course the Blair Witch, but like Primer is a really good example of it, because Primer is really carried on its dialogue, which doesn't like necessarily require a lot of money to go into. Like of course you pay scriptwriters money, but I don't think that's like as obvious a connection as like effects budgets. And I think the movie is very funny in how it like is cognizant that it doesn't have any money to spend on anything. Like it only focuses, like there are only a handful of characters, and like two of them look identical. The guy who's performing the exorcism and the pastor's war buddy.
Yeah, several of us thought they were the same person.
Yeah, we all thought they were the same person, and then the pastor's war buddy dies in a flashback, and we're like, wait.
It's yeah. Shoot, what was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say.
I also think it. What in the fuck? Oh, there was chocolate on my finger. I think it taps into like parody movie a bit. Where it's not like explicitly a parody of one thing, like Spaceballs or Blazing Saddles is, but like it has a lot of like very obvious tropes, and it doesn't try to be clever about them.
Yeah, there's the exorcism, there's the like spiritual journey to China.
Yeah, like the parents like dying is like a, you know, of course, like I'm not saying that parents don't die in the real world, but like it was played for laughs on how tropish it is.
And that scene was at the very beginning, so like it immediately sets the tone.
Yeah, and then like they also play off that where Frankie Mermaid, who is he has the same aura as Italian Spider-Man but evil. He admits in a confessional to the pastor. What is his name? What is the pastor's name?
I have. Oh wait, it's like
It's Doug, isn't it?
It's Doug. Yeah, it's Doug.
Yeah. So he admits to Doug in confessional that he killed Doug's parents, and Doug like hulks out and his arm turns into a Velociraptor arm and kills Frankie Mermaid.
Yeah.
Spoilers, I guess, for Velocipastor. But like it's just very. It doesn't try to be like no one's ever had these ideas before.
So I think.
Pardon me.
Yeah, I think that the plot is not what carries this movie forward. I think it's carried forward on two different things, and I'm interested to see if you agree with me or not.
Okay, lay it on me.
One, I think, is the direction. I think it's very intentional. A lot of the camera movements, a lot of the way the dialogue works seems very intentional and meant for comedic effect. The best example I think of that is the final scene right before he turns into the Velociraptor, where he says, like, you won't have time to pray.
Yeah.
Or like, praying won't save your life or something. There's that big pause before he says it, right before he turns into the Velociraptor, and you finally see the terrible costume. But I think the other thing is the music. The soundtrack of this thing, it's mostly licensed music.
Yeah, which is really interesting because you would not expect
a
budget of $10 to be able to afford licensed music.
But every single track on it slaps. There's a sex scene in it, and not to be too graphic, it's the best sex scene I have ever seen. Like,
and they don't like, it's not anything like it's not
very
hardcore
explicit.
porn.
No, but it's just like they like go into split screen. They go into like 4 panels, and there's all these like very like YouTuber-esque like light changes in the background, and it's just like it slaps. The soundtrack.
I agree that like that is definitely the best sex scene I've ever seen in like a bad movie. I would argue it's the best sex scene I've seen, period. Because, like...
Name a better sex scene.
Name a more iconic sex scene, I'll wait. Like, so... To like, off the top of my head, the one in the room is awful because Tommy Wiseau is having sex with a woman's torso.
Well,
like her
that's
belly
awful.
button.
That's not good.
Yeah. Hold on. Chris is paging me from the ether.
What does he say?
The sex scene in Naked Gun? I forget which one it is.
Oh, fuck! Yeah. Okay, that is good. I don't think it's as good as this. Because, like, in a lot of serious media, like, sex scenes, they're, like, either very tender or they're, like, very passionate and, like, very hardcore, like, uncensored stuff.
But this one just felt fun, I think.
Yeah.
It felt, like, very honest and, like, and just, like, I don't know, like, in that moment of that sex scene, I felt most, I think, like, connected to those characters. Mm-hmm. Whereas the whole rest of the time, they were very, like, parody-ish and very, like, not well-defined characters.
The sex scene in Chastity Bites is also a bit like that.
Oh, I don't remember it.
Well, because the conceit of that one is that they're two, like, high school / college versions, which is, like, a very awkward experience, losing your virginity. So, like, I think it was very honest in that they portrayed that it was awkward instead of, like, them being, like, fucking sex monsters. But I just think that, like, this is a weird thing to focus on, but I agree with Finn that, like, it's...
Yeah, this is kind of a weird thing to focus on. Sorry about that. But it really was, like very effective when you're seeing it. Like, you're like... I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a wonderful sex scene.
I also, like... It was well done enough that I, like, believe these characters as a couple.
Yeah.
When inherently, like, before that, it did not work. There was a montage of them, like, getting closer. But I think that was, like, oh, they're friends now. But, like, somehow in this one sex scene with, like, I forget what song is blaring in the background.
It's called, I could do, it's, before I could, it's like Before I Could Think or something.
Oh,
It's something like that. Look up the soundtrack. Do that anyway. It's incredible.
Yeah,
listeners.
But like it transforms them from like friends to an actual couple in my book.
And like that's the only thing that seems like real, if that makes sense. That like from then on, and therefore when he's like, spoilers for near the end, fighting to avenge her, like you're totally with him, even though he's like explicitly this horribly costumed man in a velociraptor suit. Mm-hmm. And it's just like that whole clash there is kind of reminiscent of the clash in Swiss Army Man to me.
Yeah,
it's just like this great unrealism with these seemingly. I guess in Swiss Army Man the characters seem more realized, but in this it's like this one relationship seems realized.
In Swiss Army Man, Daniel Radcliffe just says "thought" at the camera 17 times, and it's one of the greatest scenes in cinema history.
Yeah.
So a little tangent. Watching that for the first time, almost I had to struggle so hard to contain my laughter.
I remember it.
Because that was at the peak of when like thought was a funny word. And it was just so crazy. But back to Velocipastor. I think that like I think one of the interesting. So one of the big things I hear whenever I hear about art criticism is like, what is it saying? Is that thing worth saying? And does it say it well? Pardon me. And like, oddly enough, I don't think Velocipastor says a lot.
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, is there a message? This is... I certainly didn't pull one out of it.
No, and I don't think there's, like, a big... like, it talks a bit about the importance of family, or, like, revenge, or, like, doing something for yourself. But not in, like...
It could be... sorry to interrupt. It could be a more external message that just, like, movies should be sillier. Or like this genre of movie is worthwhile.
Yeah, that was my other takeaway, is that like I think the making of it itself is the message.
Yeah.
In which case I'd agree. Like it feels very Italian Spider-Man in that like the plot is it ancillary to the concept of the film in general. Which I think is like a really interesting thing, because that turns film criticism on its head, where like I think that that movie, like plot-wise, doesn't say anything, and what little it does say is like maybe not even worth repeating because it gets said a lot, and because we're so muddied about what it says, I don't think it would qualify as saying it well, but I think it's still a very good movie.
Absolutely. It's like I think it puts a lot of value on spectacle.
Yeah.
Which could be a statement in its own.
Yeah. I think it's not quite like cheesy or campy in the way that like Airplane or movies of that era have spectacle, but it's like Kung Fury.
Yeah, it's more like committed to a... No, I don't know if that's even true. I was going to say committed to a genre, but I think
it's committed to a bit.
It's committed to a bit, and the bit being the Velocipastor.
Yeah, and like the fact that he turns into a Velociraptor is like not unimportant. It drives the plot, but like it doesn't say anything about him spiritually or anything.
No.
Like,
well, there's the question he talks about, like if he's a good person, given that he killed the
Frankie Mermaid.
Yeah, and also the
rapist or whoever it is.
Didn't he kill the other guy in church with him?
Oh yeah.
Father,
well, that's later. He kills the father. Is it Stewart?
That sounds right.
And also the guy who... No, he doesn't kill the guy who does the exorcism. But, like... the really interesting thing is that, for me, that, like... The only thing that's important about him being a dinosaur is that it allows him to kill. Yeah. Which is, like... He could do that anyways, theoretically. And there's, like, this one throwaway line where he's like, dinosaurs aren't even real. Which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen... Because as a Catholic, like, do I believe in dinosaurs? Absolutely. Of course they existed. Do I know people that don't? Yes. Like, those people that are like, the Earth is 6,000 years old. And like, if you, precious viewer, think the Earth is 6,000 years old, I'm sorry. We will make fun of you for a bit here. But like, just being like, oh, dinosaurs aren't real, and like, how could I even turn into one in the first place? And like, that's not brought up again. And I think that lends credence to the fact that kind of the what is it? The pieces of the movie don't matter, but the movie as a gestalt is what matters.
Yeah, I think the important thing in this movie, or in the creation of this movie, is these individual, very good pieces, and then that there's some sense of flow.
Yeah.
Which definitely happens due to the editing and the direction, I think.
Yeah. And like, I don't want us to be taken out of context and you think that like we think this is worthless, because I think this is like a great movie. I think it's going to be one of those cult classics in like 20 years time, like Donnie Darko is.
I hope so. I don't think it'll be like Donnie Darko.
Well, I don't think quite like that, but like Donnie Darko did not have a huge critical reception, to my understanding.
No, yeah,
but I think this will definitely have those very devout followers.
I wish that it were a little longer, or that there's a sequel. I kind of want this to go on forever.
Yeah, but I don't think that's like, I think that's yearning for the concept of it more than like a failing of its own, if that makes sense. Like, so when you are eating like a fancy meal that has a bunch of courses, you have like an apéritif or a amuse-bouche, which are both very like fancy names for kind of like what equates to an appetizer. But the purpose of them is to leave you wanting more. Mm-hmm. And I think that like that's not a failure of the dish, and I think that can be mapped onto this. Yeah, where I think this was very much intended to like.
Oh, no.
Feel final.
Yeah, that wasn't me criticizing it, saying that I want more. It was me saying that I like it.
Oh, okay.
Because I want them, whoever directed this, to keep on doing it. And to give us more in this universe, because I would love to see. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in this universe. Just like something else
more
of that
stuff
same
of this
style.
Yeah, because I think bad movies as a genre is like somewhat of a dying breed. Like,
at least in like Hollywood.
Yeah, well, because like I'm trying to think of like movies that have come out in recent memory that are like bad movies, and like Kung Fury, but that's only 30 minutes,
and it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Whereas
this, as far as I know, was in theaters.
Really?
I think so.
That's crazy.
Wait, that might not be true.
But like Italian Spider-Man is also a bad movie, and like even Beer Fest, which I will definitely recommend, is like a bad movie. But you know, those are only a couple of ones. Like going back a bit further, you have stuff like Dodgeball and Underdog Story. But I think bad movies are getting supplanted by just like unfunny movies, like Adam Sandler movies. That's not to say all Adam Sandler movies are bad. I love like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, but I think that like The Hangover Part 22 is supplanting where Naked Gun was, or stuff like that.
So you're thinking we need some more original stuff.
And or like even if it's just a spiritual successor, like I think like purposely bad movies and bad comedies are like so they are dying out, and I hate to see that happen because I love them. And like there are some things that are coincidentally bad. But like, I don't know. I think the only big thing that's been coming out recently is like Sharknado. Is the only one I can think of that's like really popular. And of course you have like the sci-fi movies of like Lava Spider versus Robo Shark, but like,
are they still coming out?
I don't know if they're still coming out. They like there was a huge boom of them in like 2008-ish, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just worry that like
the movies are getting too
generic. That makes me sound like
I don't know if generic is the word. Maybe limited.
Maybe. Well, because also like I just think that comedy has become a little bit more straightforward or narrow in the mainstream. So like I think so I don't know if I've gone on record saying this on the podcast. One of my all-time favorite movies as a comedy is Life of Brian. I think that movie is side-splittingly funny. I can't think of like a single part of that movie that I didn't like. I don't think that that movie, or indeed a lot of Monty Python, could be made today because I don't think it's like as mainstream humor. Where a lot of stuff is like, oh, look at these wacky hijinks people get into.
Or at least that's what the Hollywood doesn't think is mainstream humor.
Yeah. And that's a very interesting thing because like with Monty Python, there's like this humor of the absurd, but not like they don't treat it as absurd. And so like in some comedies they'll be like, how crazy that you got drunk and wrecked this blah 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 blah. And with Monty Python, like their all-time best skit is the Argument Office or Argument Clinic.
Yeah.
That's
it's
like,
just not tied to, it's like not beholden to the same kind
rules.
of reality.
Yeah. So it's like very absurd, but it is grander in scale in its absurdness. Whereas I think like what I see a lot is like narrow pockets of absurdity in an otherwise real world.
Well, I can think of a good counterexample that I think kind of solves the problem. That it's like appealing to a wide audience and also has this like deep absurdism in it. And the way it accomplishes that is that the absurdism is very, very far into the movie.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it too much because it's much better watched without knowing about this.
Okay.
Verninator just uploaded a new video. I'll watch that later. It's called So.
Okay.
I don't think it's part of the When to See You. But given the situation, we've got to... That's one of our top priorities. Anyway, this movie is... have I forgotten the name of it? It's called Sorry to Bother You.
I have heard of that. I've heard good things. I haven't seen it.
Don't say anything, but do you know what happens?
No, I don't.
Everyone, please watch that movie. Content warning for, like, extreme body horror.
Ooh.
But it doesn't seem like that at all. It's totally not that genre. It's just, like, a kind of, like, political comedy.
Interesting.
Up until then. And then there's just this total, like, sci-fi, like I have never been as, like... whiplashed from a movie. But anyway, I think the way that works is that it draws you in, and it's like none of the trailers had this like very, very, very absurd aspect in it. And so all the people, like it was successfully marketed to whoever the larger demographic, and then everyone also liked it once the absurd thing happened, and that got more people to come into it. So maybe a part of the solution is to kind of mix the two, but in a way that like stays true to the absurdity and doesn't tie it down. Because like there's a sharp line in this movie where it becomes like entirely absurd.
I think there's to like kind of wrap up with like this kind of idea of like I definitely think that what I've said is not like the be all end all because a lot of this is off the cuff, but I also worry that like we might fall into a loop that like pardon me. I got a frog in my throat. That we might go back to making movies like Naked Gun or whatever, and then you get movies that are just like cookie cutter of that. So like, have you seen Harold and Kumar?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so for you and the audience, then Harold and Kumar is a series of 3 movies about basically some dude bros that get stoned and have like wacky adventures. I think all 3 of them are pretty funny. I think Harold and Kumar go to Guantanamo Bay is like definitely the weakest.
I've heard about their White Castle adventure.
White Castle is like was out of the blue, and so no one knew really what to expect from that, and it turned out to be very funny. And then Go to Guantanamo, I think was just like. So I don't know. I don't want to get onto a big rant about that. And then I think is it a very Harold and Kumar Christmas or something like that?
I am not sure.
That's very good. It brings it back full circle. But then it spawned like I think the biggest one I can think of is like Dude, Where's My Car? Mm-hmm. Which is
I know the phenomenon you're talking about.
Not a good movie. Like in my opinion, at least. Like it follows some of the same beats, but like I don't think it pays much attention to why other stuff was funny.
I don't know if it's such a tragedy that that movies inspire things that are not as good as them.
That's fair.
Because those movies existing in the first place, like, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then there is some hope that we get some really, I don't want to say original, but like stuff that really doesn't, this is kind of tying back to an earlier point, so I don't know if the segue is perfect, but I don't know how to finish that sentence. Maybe you got the gist. But examples of this are the new Dark Crystal stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
Is like, whoa, they brought something back that we thought had died out, and they did it well.
Incredibles
2.
Which was a movie fucking 14 years in the making.
Also...
She-Ra?
Yeah, She-Ra. Although I think She-Ra falls into... I don't think it's doing anything totally new. I don't know. It's I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out on stuff in it. The OA, to some extent, is a very different. I don't know if I want to say new kind of storytelling.
Yeah. And that's not to say that like I don't think that paying homage or anything to a genre is a bad thing. I just like my big worry with this and a potential future is like oversaturation. Because I don't know, like I see so few movies anyways. And like part of the reason for that is because, in my opinion, like it's getting a bit like the genres are kind of solidifying right now. Like superhero big action movies are kind of like becoming very rigid. Like I didn't go see Infinity War or Endgame, partially because I was fucking broke, but also because I just like was a bit tired of MCU kind of movies, and like I definitely did not go see Justice League.
Did you see I must have called it Italian Spider-Man. Did you see Spider-Man Spider-Verse?
Spider-Verse, yes. Far From Home, no. Spider-Verse was great. Like we watched that together. How dare you ask me if you
I've seen it like so many times I can't remember who I've
seen
that's
it with.
Fair. Apologies.
So that's also not, in my opinion, about superheroing as much as it is coming of age. But
I wonder if those are similar.
I wonder. Like, I mean, it depends. But like, it wasn't the big, the most daring crossover in cinema history. A lot of stuff is leaning towards.
We should wrap up fairly soon. I've got to get going.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna end on like that's why I like Thor Ragnarok. Is because that movie was just a comedy. Like, sure, there were some action sequences, but even those were, like, played for laughs in the end. So I really liked it. Thought it was very good. So, I don't know. We rambled on enough about comedy and genres and Velocipastor.
Yeah. I think the moral might be that oh my god, stuttering. That there is still hope for for having a diversity of kinds of movies.
I sure should hope so.
And I do want to point out, I looked it up. Velocipastor was not released in theaters. It was in film festivals.
Okay.
And then also DVD and streaming.
Okay.
All
right.
Before we go, it's time for haiku dream interpretation. It has been so long. Here's my haiku dream. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
This was a few days ago.
Okay.
Inside a tall house, hanging out with grad students, then in Montana. I know that's not much to go off of.
Okay.
But...
So
I might have chosen Montana because I couldn't fit another state into the syllables.
So you were originally just like in this very tall house, and there were just some grad students there you were doing research with or whatever, and then you were like transported to the Midwest. Is what I'm getting from that.
I think I drove there.
Oh, okay.
It's probably inspired by real life events.
Yeah, then I will say I will say takes inspiration from from Adventure at CERN Lab, except larger house.
There is only one flaw.
What was it? 675?
No.
What did they do?
The flaw is that I did not go to CERN. I went to Fermilab.
Fuck.
CERN is in like
You're in Sweden. You're right.
in Sweden.
So I will replace CERN Lab with Fermi.
CERN Lab Fermi. Yes. Great. That's solid. You've done it.
Okay. What the fuck sound was that?
I heard that. It was like it was back in the day when I used to watch like coin magic tutorials on YouTube in 2010.
You're right.
It was like the kind of sound that you would hear in one of those videos, or like some sleight of hand happened, but I'm not sure what.
All right. So we will do the plugs now, I think.
Yeah, I forgot. We've got a Reddit, reddit.com/r/FoolsInFiction. I added an addendum to one of the episodes a few weeks ago. I don't remember what it was, but it was a video of someone else talk. Oh yeah, it was a video of someone talking about the villains in My Hero Academia, I believe.
Really?
So I posted that there, so you can check about that. It was either that or it was... No, I'm sure it was about that. Yeah, it was about Twice, I think, in particular, which is something I intend to watch because I don't think I have given enough love to Twice. But yeah, so check out our Reddit at reddit.com/r/FoolsInFiction. Email us at foolsinfiction@gmail.com. You can also find other podcasts on the, I almost said God-forsaken, but we are the God-forsaken ones. The
God blessed.
God Blessed Network, Spreaker.com/user/PNWM. And just to be clear, that's SPREAKER.com/user/PNWM.
I want it to be like SPREEQUEER.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, leave us a review and or rating on iTunes.
All right. I believe the custom is set. Goodbye. Please, for the love of God, turn the podcast off.